Hey. Going live. 10 seconds. Live now. Just now. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go again. Girls, what's your weakness, men? Always interesting to do these lives, and then you kind of just sit and chill, wait. I smoke a little reefer madness. Because why not? I'm at home. I'm free to do so, as are you. If you got some cannabis, smoke it up. Got a little sour diesel, the end of a joint. I started smoking this morning. I just had a 4-day cannabis break. And so I started smoking again last night, and man, woo, that was nice. If you're anything like me, you smoke cannabis as much as I do, you get that tolerance build up. Y'all know what I'm talking about, right? And sometimes I just try to take a 1-day break, 24-hour break, whatever. And it makes a difference. A 4-day break was awesome. But I'm on Instagram Live. I'm on Facebook Live. And I'm doing it was Straight on Society. I don't know if you guys can tell because I'm figuring shit out, but I'm trying to do like Wednesday's podcast, an interview or conversations with someone, various backgrounds, whatever, while we smoke cannabis. Sometimes the guests won't smoke cannabis, but I will be. I'm trying to do this, and I am doing the strain of the week, which is a separate episode to put out on like Tuesdays. And I'm going to start adding a writing group, and I also want to do a mental health Monday. Why I didn't do it yesterday was because I was taking care of my mental health. And I just thought it's something that I discuss often on these. If you watch the podcast at all, if you watch anything with Strain on Society, I talk about mental health a lot because mental health takes up a big part of my time. Going to therapy, I have a psychiatrist, and dealing with the illness that I have, mental health illnesses, with a major depressive disorder, anxiety disorder, and CPTSD. And probably saying, what does that have to do with your ass being sore? I mean, yeah, that's a good question. Instagram has nothing to do with that. I said I was going to go live today, Mental Health Monday, on a Tuesday, why my ass is sore, and other weekend stories, or other stories from the weekend. My ass is sore. I'm not going to lie to you guys. If any of you follow me, you know, since the pandemic started, I became the king of bidets. I love bidets now. As soon as it started and the whole toilet paper shortage, Diane and I bought bidets for our bathrooms, and we like them and we use them. I know it's 11 o'clock on a Tuesday. I don't expect or know who's going to be watching, but I wanted to talk about my ass a little bit. Not just my ass, but I want to do this while it's fresh. I want to do this while I'm raw, while I'm vulnerable, and I just want to say, if you're going to watch this and enjoy, here's what I don't want. If you're my friend, I assume you're my friend. If you're Facebook friends and you're watching this, I don't want your advice, and I don't want any of that. I'm just sharing this experience that I had with my own mental health. I have a therapist, I have a psychiatrist, I have a team, I have a plan. I know oftentimes when being vulnerable and sharing experiences with people, it can trigger their mental health, or they just feel this need to share their opinion. I don't want that. And if you share, like when I first opened up and talked about my mental health issues, I got all these people say, "Oh, you should go see Tony Robbins." And I'm like, if I broke my fucking ankle, I don't go see Tony Robbins. I go see a fucking doctor. That's how this works. So don't give me your go see Tony Robbins or DeMartini. I'm not looking for your advice. And I'm only saying that because it's important. Because if you start giving me your advice, I might just delete you as a friend because you're not being my friend. Because I'm telling you right now, I want to share this. I have a team of people. I don't want your advice. I love all of you, but that ain't what I'm fucking looking for. Hi, Shannon. Good afternoon. Is it afternoon? It's 11 a.m. here still, Shannon. but good afternoon to you. So, why my ass hurts? Um, well, let me tell you why my ass hurts. My ass hurts because I had a psyche. I already forgot. I had basically a mental health event on Thursday. I had an event with depression and my CPTSD where I was having suicidal ideations. Um, and I reached out for help. So this, I'm going to just share kind of my experience and what happened, and what this looks like to those of you that don't understand depression and don't understand CPTSD or PTSD or don't understand anxiety disorders. Um, that's why I don't want your advice because it's already an very very isolating illness and disease. And when you give me advice, means that you don't fucking have any idea of what the experience is. When people come and say, "Well, take my number and call me next time," that to me tells me this is why it's so isolating. You're not listening to me. That you don't understand when you're trying to give logical advice that a rational brain would listen to someone that's in a psychiatric crisis. Once you're in that crisis, you're not thinking logically. I'm not thinking logically or rationally. So your advice just means you don't understand where I'm coming from. So rather than if you want to be a participator or whatever and you want to hear the story, just listen. Just listen. And listen without thinking about what you would do. Listen without thinking about what you want to tell me because that's about you. That's not about me. And I'm not interested in your advice. Like I said, I have a team of professionals, and I enjoy them, and I'm having great results using them, and I'll heed their advice, the ones that have studied this for years and years and years and years and dedicated their life. You understand? Does that make sense? Um, what's up, Taz? So I've been seeing a nutritionist, and I mention that sometimes, and recently, and so I've cut like 80% of my sugar, 80% of my flour out, and then I also quit smoking. So those are pretty big stressors, you know. And I'm also finishing up this book. I'm creating content and shows for Strain on Society, ultimately trying to turn it into a channel on Instagram and YouTube, where I have several different like a episode, show dedicated to like cannabis and creating, a show dedicated to the cannabis and conversations, a show dedicated to mental health, a show just some different ideas that I want to do. So I'm creating all this content, also doing shit for Bully Ranch, and we're preparing like what do we do in 2021 because we don't know when society is going to open back up. Nobody does. On two streams of income, so we're not going to make ourselves go broke with this. So we have to figure out solutions. And that's what we're going to be concentrating on. So I'm busy. And self care, I've been mentioning in these things, has become, I had to equalize it as a priority. Because Pitbull Rescue, getting a ranch, having, enjoying success as an author, creating all this content for this channel, none of that shit matters if I'm fucking sick. And I have diabetes. And as I've mentioned several times, I've watched my parents over the last several years pass away. I saw how the last decades of their fucking lives were, how miserable and sick, and it's just filled with hospital visits and doctor visits. I don't fucking want that. Um, and so I have to take responsibility. So I have those genes already. So if I continue the lifestyle, smoking cigarettes and drinking sugar and eating sugar and or not carbs, but eating flour based stuff and eating it more, just not understanding nutrition and not changing how I think about nutrition, that I'm going to end up just like them. I know what it looks like. I've watched it. You know what I mean? With my own eyes. So I'm making these great changes, and because I'm having such great, getting such great results through therapy and having a psychiatrist, like having a brain mental coach. It's amazing, and I highly recommend it to anyone out there. And now I have a nutrition coach who's a nutritionist who is helping me understand nutrition and how every single thing I put in my body, what's the deleted 15 by pricking my finger and testing my blood, I was at 103 before lunch yesterday and 105 the day before. I don't remember, since I've been diagnosed with diabetes, I don't think I've ever been that low. So I'm having amazing results with it. And it's also testing me and trying me. And what I necessarily what I learned um, is that my self care, mental health, physical care, has to come. I have to shift the circle, the wheel, and that's got to be the number one priority in my life. Exercise, my nutrition, my diet, how I eat, and I have to because I have diabetes. So this isn't just this. People are out there that I'm not on a diet. I'm changing the way I eat, but I don't eat any less. In fact, I've been eating more, and I have to question every belief system I have. So I've been going through those challenges, and it was compounding last week. Um, and I know when I start getting triggered. I know when I'm starting to feel overwhelmed. I know when all those things happen because it feels like a hand's on the back of my neck. It gets real. I get tense. There's tension there. My scapula muscles in between my shoulder blades are tight, and that's when I know I have to stop whatever the fuck I'm doing and divert all attention to my mental health, to my self care. And I didn't do that last week. And I kept thinking if I just keep working and keep doing this stuff, it'll play itself out, you know. It'll run itself out. Let that energy go out, and it'll do it on its own volition. It did. Um, and I went to a mental health crisis, and it was late on Thursday, and I thought it'd be rude to call my therapist at that hour. In hindsight, next time if that ever happens, and it may, I don't know, I'll be rude. So I didn't know what to do. Some of you can see on Instagram how nice my bookcase is, my bookshelves are. Can you guys see that there? I don't want to move the camera around too much because it takes too much time to get it fixed again. But I lost my shit, man. I destroyed this office, the screen, the monitor that I use, a crack in it. I knocked over my bookcases, knocked over my desk, knocked over my television in the living room, which happened to hit a great gift that one of our friends got for my wife for her birthday of a unicorn, and the goddamn horn of the unicorn hit the bottom of the TV, so now there's a white line going up it. I lost my shit, man. And I was having suicidal ideations. I was in a fight. This is how it's hard to explain to people that don't have a mental illness or don't have depression. And no matter what form of depression, I think people that understand, and this is why it's hard when you do this, and people give you advice and they're not mental health professionals and they don't understand, and God bless it that you don't understand. I don't wish this shit on my worst fucking enemy, and I mean that with 100% being genuine and sincerely. I would not wish this on mental illness on anyone, because here's what it's like. You could look at me just sitting here, but what it's happening inside of my head is I am in a fist fight. I'm in a fight. And it's a fight with synapses of neural pathways going off, and these old trauma caused neural pathways fighting against where I'm at now. And these have been here since I was my earliest memories through 13 years old of being beaten, just brutal abuse, like genitals beaten, naked beatings, mental abuse. You're a piece of shit. You'll never be anything. For 13 years of my life, until I could fight back, until I could say no and physically stop it. And it's like being a POW. That's why it's called complex PTSD, because I was owned. I believe firmly that I believed that I was owned by my parents. They could murder me, and the cops wouldn't do anything. They could do whatever they wanted with me. That's just how we were raised. And it was until I was even a little older and started having like slumber parties or sleeping over at friends' houses where I would see like, oh, that's not normal, getting your ass beat every fucking day naked. And I'm paying the price now. For years and years, I just kept avoiding it. My normal is if I get triggered and I get angry, my brain doesn't stop. You can't win in a fight against me, an oral fight, because I'll shred you. And I watched Diane because I'd go after her, and she'd just look at me, and I'd just be rattling off. Well, this is. Why can't you answer this question? And she's just. And this has been for years. And Diane's undergrads in psych. We met. We were social workers. And for years, she would ask me to go to therapy. I wouldn't do it. And I'm paying the price. And it's okay because I'm in therapy now, and this is what I'm supposed to be in therapy. And even as well as I've been doing with having this therapist, and when I started seeing a therapist in 2017, there was no Bully Ranch. I couldn't even imagine. I'd gone. It's been 10 years, y'all. 11 years this summer since I published my last book, and I've been fighting this battle. And it wasn't until years later I thought if I went to therapy and if I took antidepressants, it would somehow minimize my creativity, and I believed that. And it wasn't until I read an article by another author who went a decade and couldn't write a book until they got put on antidepressants and started seeing therapy. So that was an opening for me to question my beliefs, and I did, because what I was doing wasn't working. And I was at a place back in 2017. Both of my dogs had died, or 2016, and then we got Doggy Trejo, and he burnt down our fucking apartment. And then 2017 started, and my father died. And the day after my father died, my best friend since childhood, Kevin, died. And in that small 4-month window of time, I faced death and my own mortality a lot. And I was grieving, and for years before that, I don't know if you guys know, but I worked in the personal development industry and facilitated and coached and helped write curriculum and produced events. Like, this was my biggest passion in life, and it was to not only help other people, but it was to keep myself in it, because I was fighting against all these belief systems I had growing my whole life, where I would sabotage myself because I wasn't worthy, I wasn't capable, I was a piece of shit, I was a motherfucking idiot, jackass, I'd never be anything. This is what I grew up with over and over and over. Think about affirmations. Well, think about the opposite of affirmations. Over and over for beyond 13 years. The physical stopped after 13 years. And I'm being really fucking honest with you. And I'm going to be really, really raw. And I don't give a fuck. And I'm going to be emotional too. And that's why I'm embarrassed a little bit. And I don't want to be. And this is really, really close to the surface for me, because I just came home yesterday. And I know I've apologized and hid this part of me for 48 fucking years, and I'm not doing it anymore. I don't give a fuck if you think mental illness isn't real. I don't give a fuck if you don't think it's manly to go to therapy or talk about this shit. Now, fuck you. I'm tired. I'm not going to ever deny that I didn't ask for this shit. You know what I mean? I wasn't a little fucking kid and said, please beat my genitals. I didn't ask for it, but it's something I have to be responsible for. So that's why I go to therapy. That's called being a fucking man. Being a grown-up and taking responsibility. And yet the shit still hits me. I describe this into my therapist. And maybe it'll be easier to understand in using a metaphor. I have a pit bull rescue. So what happens if we get a dog in and it just came out of a fighting ring, and it's aggressive? But there's hope for it. It's aggressive because it's not used to being around humans. It's not, has all those things. So if I got to take that dog out, we got to give that dog, my brain is working pretty fast here, and I want to try to tell the whole story, but I have to lead that dog. I have to take it out. I got to feed it. I got to do all these things with that dog, and then I have to start training it and get to a place where, we can do an analysis on it, and I have to lead it. Even if it's trying to fucking bite me, even if it's, trying to attack me, I have to be the leader. And that's the way I look at the monster in my head of mental health. It's trying to fucking kill me. And you guys that have it, you fucking know what I mean. It wants destruction. And I have to lead it. If I want to have Bully Ranch, if I want to be a writer, I have to lead it. Because otherwise it's going to kill me. It will fucking kill me. And when I get into that space and that hyper aroused brain, and some of y'all understand what that is, where you just can't stop. It won't stop. It just gets loud, and then it consumes everything. You can't do anything. It's debilitating. And it's like you're in a fist fight, except the fight keeps going on. Like, it can go on for days, and you're exhausted, and you just feel like you're fighting someone, and all of a sudden they got extra arms. So now you're fighting off of fucking 4 arms, 4 fists, 5 fists, 6 fists. And it just beats you the fuck down. But if you're looking at me, I'm just sitting here. My head might be down. I'm quiet. You don't know. And I can't explain it to you. I can't tell you that I'm in a fight right now in my head. That it's like if you look at the neural pathways and look at my head like a remember the old in the 60s or before that phone boards, and it's like it's on the motherfucker's on fire and there's sparks going everywhere and it's a fucking war and it's a battle, and I can't tell you what that feels like. I can't. I'm a writer. I have an amazing grasp of the English language, and I can't tell you. I can't explain to you, except it hurts and it sucks, and there's this point in it where you just want it to stop. So I called the police. Um, and you can ask for, I called 911. You can ask for emergency police, mental health. I asked for a mental health cop officer, and they came. And I told them I was in a space where I couldn't stop the noise. I couldn't stop the train, and it had been building and compounding for a couple of days, and I knew it. And there was a part of me that I will admit wanted the rage. I wanted to break shit. I wanted to destroy. So I trashed my office. So I broke my TV. I wanted to destroy me. And so the cops came and talked to a mental health cop. I don't remember the conversation that well. I was in a very hyper-aroused state. Definitely said I wanted to go talk to someone. I was having suicidal ideations for sure. And so they said, okay, we'll take you to a psychiatric hospital that's in my neighborhood, off Stastny Road, which I never drive by it. I don't know how many times. I never knew that it was even what it was. So I said, yeah, I want to go. And I'm going. I don't know what to expect because I've never fucking done this before. I don't like the police, to be frankly honest with you. I try to steer clear of them. Cops were in my goddamn apartment. And there's I don't know if you've seen my spice rack of weed out in my kitchen, but they did. And and then they were asking me about Bully Ranch and about my podcast, and I said, well, this is weird to say to you, officer, but it was about cannabis and strains, and they laughed and they didn't give a fuck. Maybe there's a case out on me. I don't know. I doubt it. But they were really nice and they were really helpful, and they didn't tell me what was going on, and I wouldn't have gone. I would have called my therapist, woke her up. I would have, or waited the next day. I would have found another solution. Had they told me that I was going in, and once I'm going in by the police, where I called and asked them, and they said, "Do you want to go talk to these people?" I wanted to talk to a mental health professional, and it's like 11 o'clock at night. What the fuck? Or 10 o'clock at night. I don't even know what time it was, to be honest with you. Man, that whole time was just a blur. So I went, and I got processed, took. And I was like, oh shit. So the next day comes on, and I didn't sleep. Immediately the first night, there was some just shit going down, because it's a psychiatric hospital. And when I met Diane, we used to work as social workers at group homes, in Cleveland, Ohio. This is why it's always got me with police officers, as a little side note, because we had to deal with people with mental retardation, or that's not what it's called now. So they had disabilities and behavior issues, violence. And we had to handle that shit. We didn't have mace. We definitely didn't have a stun gun, and for sure, no loaded weapons. We had to do that shit every day. People putting their heads through windows, attacking people. I'm talking about people 6'6", 300 pounds. Yeah, and women and me. Both men and women trained in non-aggressive, not like. We didn't have, and we would. Chairs tried to break over our heads and shit. There was never once did we murder any of them. Not one damn time. Didn't pepper spray a motherfucker. And then we got cops pepper spraying 9-year-olds talking about, she didn't comply. Fuck you, coward. I'm not a huge fan of the cops in this situation. They were very nice. They were very friendly. And I was scared, and I didn't trust them. We went to the hospital, and I got in the hospital, and that first night, just crazy fucking shit going down. I didn't have my CPAP machine. I was super hyper aroused. Didn't know what was going on. There's screaming going on. There's people. There's just a lot of shit. That's what you'd expect in a psychiatric ward. I wasn't happy. I didn't sleep very well. And the next morning we got up, and then they have like group therapy sessions, and I went to a couple. I didn't know what was going on, and I was waiting to talk to a doctor. And next thing I know, it's afternoon, and I'm sitting in this group therapy session, and she's asking me to color something, and I just got up and walked up to the nurse's station and just started like, what the fuck is happening, man? I want to go home. Like, I came in here to talk to a mental health professional. Nobody's talked to me. I've been here since 10 last night or 11 last night, and it's now 1 or 2 in the afternoon the next day. I haven't talked to anybody. If I can't talk to someone, let me go. And they're like, you can't go. What the fuck you mean I can't go? The cops brought you in. They asked me if I wanted to come, and I said yes. That's not voluntary. They brought you in as involuntary, which means you have a 48-hour hold. It was Thursday night. 48-hour hold ends on Saturday. Well, it's a 48-hour hold business days. So I hadn't broken any laws, anything like that, but they were telling me that I was going to be there till Monday. And I still hadn't seen a doctor. And I started to lose it. And they were trying to calm me down. And I was like, look, this is my life. You're holding me against my will. And one of the nurses, I understand now, if I get excited, and y'all know my energy, if you're friends with me, I'm an enroller. I'm an energetic enroller. You know what I mean? So they didn't, oh, I see y'all, man. I didn't even see all these comments going on. Hey, Brandon, Deb, Shannon, Monty, good morning. I didn't even see that shit. I was just losing my shit. This is my life. You can't hold me. I didn't break any laws. I came voluntarily, and based on the laws, yeah. And they were like, did the police bring you? And I said yes. And they murmured, and they were looking at each other. So apparently, this is pretty common practice with the Austin Police Department. And I know that because my psychiatrist there encouraged me to file a report with them, even go as far as taking legal action, because they do this all the time to people. That they go and they're nice and they're sweet, and you got politicians and judges making these decisions that don't have a background in medicine, that don't have any background in psychiatric treatment, making laws. So you could just take my freedom away and put me in a place. I've never broken a law. I was asking for your support, which is what I kind of thought you're there to do, and you ended up putting me in a place that restricts. I can't leave. And if you guys know me, my biggest value is freedom. And that's because for 13 years of my life, I was owned and thought I was owned by someone. And they could murder me, do what they did. They brutalized me, beat me physically, sexually, mentally, emotionally, in every way possible. And you're going to put me in somewhere and take that away from me. How can I not be triggered? And their fear was I was going to start shit. And I don't know what much shit I could start. The chairs there weigh like 150 fucking pounds, so I could pick one up. And I wasn't there, and I was just wanting information. Give me the information. And then luckily one of the techs, I'm not going to mention anyone's names here, just came back, started talking to me like, here's the fear, you're going to freak out. I'm a bald fucking big dude with tattoos and shit. And it happens all the time, so of course they're wary of that, and they're most wary of their mission there is to keep us safe. So if I fucking start freaking out, that's going to raise the energy, so other people might start freaking out, and that's how violence goes down, and you're in a place where people might pop the fuck off, you know what I mean? Everyone's there for a mental health illness, for not even a mental health, everyone has a mental health illness, but they're there for a crisis, suicidal crisis, so you can't keep and I get it. At the time, I mean, like I said, I hadn't slept, I'm coming off of a mental health crisis, and I want to know what the fuck, you know what I mean? So I'm hating life right now, right? I'm mad as fuck. The tech stops and talks to me, and he explains to me a lot of the things, and explains to me about the stuff with the police, and not telling people, and he's just trying to get me in a place of he's like, this is what we're trying to prevent, and I think it sucks that nobody has given you this information. And he took it upon himself to go find the doctor. And it's not the doctor. The doctor's seen there's a children's unit, which had more people in it than the adult unit, which is halfway heartbreaking and halfway, I hope they're getting whatever situation happened to them taken care of now, or learning to deal with it now, because they're not there. Most of them are there for a fucking reason, and it's trauma, which is created generally. 75% of the time by a goddamn human adult. And he's treating them. There's a women's unit, and then I'm in the adults mixed unit, and so he went and got him. And within 20 minutes, the doctor came and saw me, and that was that kindness of that tech broke how frustrated and angry I was feeling. And if he ever sees this, I told him before I left yesterday, I thanked him, because I was the only one that gave me the information, and he cared. And it was freaking me out because he cared so deeply. Like I could just feel it. And then I met my doctor, and he was like, he's like the earliest. And that depends on how he did over the weekend. Monday would be the day, and I didn't like it. And he told me the whole situation with the cops, and he's like, we don't get to make the laws. And then even way, if I opposed it, I'd have to go see a judge. The judge isn't a psychiatric professional, and he overrules the doctor. That's a psychiatric professional, and that's not just Texas. That's most places. So I had a big choice to make. I went and sat out in the common area by myself, and I was like, dude, if I stay in resistance, I am going to freak. I will be violent. I will try to crash through that double pane fucking window. I'm gonna go back to that place in my head, and or the or was a really big or. It was almost an and. I can surrender and understand that I'm going to be there till Monday. And if I stay in that place of resistance and resentment, I'm gonna do some damage, and I'm gonna be there a lot longer, or I'm gonna freak the fuck out, and I'm gonna be there a lot longer. Or I can surrender and find wherever I can inside of me to shift that fucking beingness to, okay, I'm here. I don't want to be here. I feel my number one value is being stripped away. So now I got to find freedom up here. That's the only freedom I'm thinking about. Nelson Mandela. And I'm like, okay, well, that's possible. And I sat there, and then I heard a voice. Hey, Paul. I look over, and not on top of this, we're in a hospital, so we're all got to wear masks all the time. And I saw a guy walking. Obviously, he worked there, mask on. He goes, remember me? And he pulled it down. It was my friend Ray. I used to do a podcast with when I first moved here, when he was a comedian. And he was going to school. He had just started grad school at that time to become a therapist. And I was just sitting there thinking about, I need to surrender. Like that's a space I want to be in. How do I get there? Bam, there was Ray. I trust Ray. Me and Ray, when we had a podcast, we got into some deep. We got into a lot of talk about suicide, mental health, deep conversations on a podcast about it. So we knew each other very, very well. And ironically, in that particular podcast, I was like the therapy guy, the spiritual professional, and now he's there as a therapist. And he's like, come on. Pulls me into the back by their office to talk. He's like, I saw your file. I pleaded to let you, to hopefully, just to help and get me out. And he's like, can't do it. It's law. And, they would lose their licensing with the state if they didn't follow the law, obviously. He's like, but I'm going to get you out on Monday. Like, I'm going to try what I can over the weekend, but I'm going to get you out on Monday. And I just took a deep breath. and just seeing Ray, and I trust Ray, and those that come from trauma, those that have this, no, it's not trusting for me. It ain't easy. Trust my life, my LS brothers, my size 7 brothers and sisters. I don't have a lot of people I would trust with my life, especially strangers. Get the fuck out. Not when I'm in that position. I trusted Ray. That was enough. That was my sign. You know how I did a thing a couple weeks ago about sign significance. Well, the significance I signed to Ray being there, right when I was in that moment of how do I get to surrender? How do I get to that space? How do I be that? How do I get to being as a surrender when I'm feeling so tense and that hands on the back of my neck? And I have to shift that, or I'm going to lose my shit. And I'm going to also possibly lead to harm of others. And that's not what I'm about. You know what I mean? That's not how I live my fucking life. And so Ray that was the sign for me to allow myself to just be like, motherfucker, you're going to be here till Monday. Whatever reason, surrender. You're going to have to find some kind of silver lining in this motherfucker. And luckily, I'm a kind of motherfucker that will find a silver lining in some shit because I am just good at training the brain that way, even coming right out of a depressive episode. Whew. I just breathed. I was like, all right, man. And it wasn't like an immediate shift, but I felt the tension. I felt the hand relax on the back of my neck, and I felt, okay, man, Ray's here. Even though Ray was leaving, it was Friday now, and he was leaving for the day. I wasn't going to be there during the weekend. He worked there, and I know Ray's got my back. Ray knows me very well, and only just through sharing having unfiltered, no ego conversations on a podcast about grief and about suicide and about depression and just allowing ourselves to be open about it. So, and it led him to becoming a therapist. So I just I started talking and interacting with people there. It's a psychiatric ward. So there's some motherfuckers that are crazy. I'm there. But do I look normal? I guess I don't know. But you know, there's different levels and there's different, for depression in particular, there's so many different variations from, I have major depressive disorder, there's bipolar depression, there's bipolar, there's all these different, it's a scale. There's all these different, different types of depression, and then there's also being on the spectrum. Like I'm not bipolar, but I'm on the bipolar spectrum, which means I can have huge outbursts of anger. And I can have huge outbursts of mania and creativity. But I'm on the spectrum. I'm not diagnosed that. I'm diagnosed major depressive disorder. I go to fucking suicidal ideations. I go to fuck the world. I want to drink or coke myself to fucking death, or at least to silence the noise in my fucking brain and head. And that's my go-to. That's my default. It's not even part of who I am anymore, and it still can be my default sometimes. Hey, Weena. I know, Weena. I love you. I miss you. I miss your hair. Your hair has always just brought joy to me, Weena. I'm not sure. I just always did. Every time I see you, I'd be like, it's like a life of its own. So, I called Diane. The first day I called her early and I was crying. And I said, I'm so sorry, Diane. And I didn't ask for this. She was crying. She said, I know. And I was like, I don't know if they're going to let me out. At that time, I didn't know yet. That was Friday morning. And then when I knew, and they also knew that I wasn't up. So so the way my brain was right then, still in a kind of who are these people? Not being able to trust them. But I trusted that Ray was there, but I still was like, cause they offered the psychiatric doctor offered to prescribe me while I was there trazodone or trazodone or some dibazone, I don't fucking know, to allow your body to go to sleep. And it wasn't sleeping. It's not a sleeping pill. It actually allows your body, if it needs sleep, to have that space to go to sleep. And I took one, and that night, and knocked me the fuck out. And then they woke me up the next morning to take my vitals that they would do every morning. The techs there walk around and go to every person, whoever's on their list, to get their vital, their blood pressure, pulse, temperature. Everybody wearing masks the whole time. Um, and I was just so groggy. And so I called Diane. I could barely talk. And I thought they drugged me. So now one of my favorite books is One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. And I love the movie too. So now that's in my head like, oh, Nurse Ratched. They're trying to drug a motherfucker up. I got a big mouth. Everybody knows I came in with a big mouth. They're trying to shut the big mouth up. And so I didn't go to any of the groups on Saturday because during the first half of the day, because I just kept going back to my bed and sleeping, and I felt zombied, and I was like, damn it, they're gonna do this to me, and it's because I fucking because I showed emotion that was not, and I get it now in hindsight, but at the time. And I was like, all right, Paul, you're not surrendering. And I was like, well, maybe I just need to sleep. You know, I'm on this drug. I'm so groggy. I can't. I was trying to read a book that Ray had given me, and every paragraph I had to reread. And I got like within half an hour, I think it was 3 pages in, and I just was like, fuck this. Just go to fucking sleep. So I went and I slept all throughout the afternoon. I woke up and I felt a lot better. And then I got to go see the psychiatrist that was there, who's different from the weekly, and talk to him. And I told him, like, he's like, oh, I see he's prescribed you trazodone. And I was like, yeah, but it fucked me up during the day. He's like, well, you don't have to take it. And I said, no, I told him I would because I wanted to sleep. And so they ended up dropping it half a dose. So they had to cut it in half. And then that was good. And they also upped, while upping 5 milligrams, my antidepressant. So fast forward to yesterday. I trusted when Ray said he's going to get me out on Monday. So people were asking over the weekend how long, because normally it's 7 to 10 days. And I had gone in Thursday night, and I was like, nah, fuck that, I'm leaving. I shifted out of the suicidal ideations. I shifted out of that place. I do it relatively quickly. And you can imagine how many people go in there and say that they're fine and they're like me, a smooth talker, that could, say what they want to hear and get out and not be fine. And then if I get out and go kill myself, then, that falls back on their credibility and their licensing. So I get it. But I was out of that space, but I still was in a weird space, and I was surrendered. So here comes Monday. I get up, and generally they have to contact Diane, my wife, to make sure she's cool with me coming home. And they have to they were trying to set me up on a plan, and I already have a psychiatric plan. I have a psychiatrist through another program here, and I have a therapist. So they're like, oh, great, perfect. In fact, my therapist at the hospital used to work at the place where my therapist and psychiatrist work. So there are all these different things that have to go in order, and then they have to do a psych eval on me the day of. And throughout the weekend, I don't want to get into all the stories. I might write an essay about it, actually, because there's just too much. And there's a lot of craziness. There's a psychiatric ward, you know what I mean? There's some, I was probably the most level-headed out of the core group I connected with, that were ranged from one dude, my homie, is going to be on the podcast, actually, who runs a $20 million software company business, who just realized while we were there, got diagnosed being bipolar. So that's 33-year-old just realizing for the first time throughout his entire life that part of his beingness was caused by a mental illness. and it was blowing his mind. And then, so all of a sudden, he didn't want to leave. He wanted to figure it out. He's got kids and runs this extremely successful software business and is going through a plan of trying to sell it. And he's there, and he's like, I want to stay now. I want to figure out the medication so I can get right. And there were people there that were just coming out of the fucking penitentiary, state penitentiary, and people coming from the ATC here in Austin that as soon as they got their $1,200 stimulus check, smoked it away in a weekend on crystal methamphetamine. And a mother and grandmother, and people that were catatonic and didn't talk. But my main crew and one a young man of color from Fort Worth area who's a hip hop artist, and my other homie who I don't even remember where he's from, Elgin maybe, who was just watching him back and forth in the meds, trying to get the meds right, get his brain, the chemicals level in his brain, and then him just spouting off the most brilliant, deepest shit. Just getting this understanding of what does it all mean. And then the next day just being in this completely manic state and so I came home yesterday. And I got up yesterday morning, and I expected all these different pieces and parts had to go together, and I was supposed to see a psychiatric nurse, then see a psychiatrist, and then they got to contact Diane, and there's all these moving parts. And then as soon as we woke up, my therapist was there sitting behind the nurse's station. She called me over, and she said, I just want to tell you that you're going to go home today. We had a staff meeting, and everybody agreed you're going home. You're not a threat to yourself. You're not a threat to anybody else, and all this stuff. So they didn't even have to go through all those protocols because my 48 hours were up, and they just couldn't release me until Monday. And I was stoked, even though that it was hard as hearing that at like 7:30 in the morning, and then I didn't get out until 4. And that's how long the bureaucracy of the paperwork. And I still had to meet with the psychiatrist and go through all this release paperwork and just a bunch of bureaucracy shit. That you'd go through at a hospital, and then I was waiting for them to come and say, "Well, here's your copay because I have insurance," and I was gonna, and then you could bet I would fight that, even though I'll get to the part, but I was held against my will essentially. So no, you're not getting my money, on principle. And I left, and Diane came, and she said, that day people were coming up, the people in the crowd I met, this diverse group of. I was calling it Wackadoo Ranch, baby. And I didn't do my church with Rev Paul on Sunday. I found out later that if everybody would have remained anonymous, they could have worked me out doing it Sunday morning. Could you imagine if I'd have done church with Rev Paul and I'd have been in a psychiatric hospital interviewing these people, how awesome and that would have been. I didn't ask. Normally, I don't have a problem asking those questions. I was asking Diane how she could sneak in my laptop. She wouldn't have been able to. She couldn't even come in the fucking building because of COVID. So, but I don't remember how I got back to that. It would have just been fun. So the whole day, everybody was exchanging information, giving them, Strain on Society, Instagram, all that stuff. A couple of them, my phone numbers. And then right before I was leaving, after I'd seen the psychiatrist, just finishing up the paperwork, getting all my shit together, I was outside. Luckily, this place had a courtyard in the middle of it, and you could go out there and had a basketball hoop and go out there and smoke. And so I quit smoking, right? So while I was there, I couldn't get the Nicorette, so I smoked. And then I stopped, obviously, when I left. Again, I'm breaking that habit again, but you had to get a doctor's order for the gum, but they would just give me cigarettes. That's weird. So now I'm all congested and shit and realize all these years of this congestion living in Texas, smoking cigarettes. Because for the past, it's been almost a month, going on a month now, within a week, I stopped coughing as much, my nose wasn't as stuffy, and who'd have guessed? Every doctor that I've ever had. So I'm coming home, and right before I come home, I'm sitting outside, and the one guy I was talking about that his medications were off. He was just having such a hard time, and he told me he was mad that I was leaving. And he was in a spot. We were all sitting there, this kind of group of just male and female. We just all kind of arrived within 24 hours of each other, and or most, and just did all kind of all the smokers actually. How many of us have made friends just because we smoke cigarettes or smoke weed, and they're all, of course, cannabis heads, because that's how we do. Um, and then one other time, I'll tell the story about how we had to have therapy on the drug counselor because she was asking me first, "How do you deal with a lot of stress?" And I said, "Cannabis was one of my answers," and it triggered her. In fact, she said, "You're triggering me," and then we ended up having to counsel her um, because it's Texas, and she was like, "You can't talk about drugs." I was like, "I'm not. I'm talking about a plant." And so anyway, we almost broke her. It felt really bad about it, but it's also to me, how are you gonna be a fucking therapist if you're gonna get triggered when you get honesty from your from your patients or clients? That you may want to rethink some things, but whatever. Diane got there. I was so stoked. I love Diane so much, and she looked so fucking hot. When I came out, and we went home, and the food there sucked all weekend. So I was like, let's go get some food. So we went and got burritos. Came home. I was stoked because I hadn't smoked cannabis in 4 days. So I rolled a joint of GMO. I don't know if I put that one out yet. That strain of the week. And I smoked about half of it. I had 3 hits and I gagged like a motherfucker. And I was so stoned. I thought I was on like some kind of anxiety medication that I was just woozy high. And I also did up my medication, my antidepressant medication, and I can feel it. When I first started on it, it was right before Worlds. Those of you that went to Worlds down here in Austin, the World Beard Mustache Competition, y'all didn't know a month before that. That's when I got diagnosed with these things in July. That was in September, and the end of July, because I had voluntarily taken myself to a hospital because I knew I needed some help and medication, or I was going to fucking end it. So that started this whole journey into me learning, and that was like a month before Worlds. So we leave, and I'm so stoked I'm gone. And right before we left, we just held our own group therapy session with just the people that I'd bonded with to help him out, and trying to figure out like some of the most brilliant people. My homie that runs the business is like a math savant. He's bipolar. And we're just sitting there, all these people had this certain kind of genius or spark, and then yet try to drown out because they also have mental illness. Try to drown it out with drugs and alcohol. Every one of them, we're all fucking addicts sitting there. Doesn't matter where we come from in life, because a lot of them were, some of the people leaving there didn't have a home to go to. They're homeless. You just leave, and where are they going? They don't have a home. And there we're all equal. And we sat there, and it was like a brainstorm, like, so maybe we can stay connected. How can we do this? And then they voted me leader. It was like, oh shit, it was like we were playing the samurai game, and I was like, I'm on my way out. I'm leaving right now. They're finishing up my paperwork, and I was like, and I'm doing my best to be the author of my own book. And I can only encourage you to do the same. But you got to change the way you're looking at the world, because they all looked at it as in this understandable way of how do I deal with this noise, this overwhelming noise. And sometimes that noise, I'll lie to you and say that having this mental illness does not have its gifts, because I'm a best-selling motherfucking author. And anybody that thinks that I don't have mental illness, there's nothing involved with that, and it doesn't help in creativity. Do you have a best-selling book? No. I started a Pitbull where I'm living my vision and dreams. And not in spite of having mental illness. A lot of the drive I have and lack of concern of what anyone thinks is because of that mental illness, because of that outlaw, misfit mentality. I know I will fail at things, and I'm going to try them any goddamn way. Because if you're not trying them, I could give two goddamn shits what you think. If you ain't out there if you're not on the game field playing, I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck what you think about me. If you have negative thoughts about me because I'm sharing about mental health, because I didn't ask for it, but I got it. And I gotta be responsible for it. And me acting like I don't have it is not being a man. It's not being responsible of me. And then I can't promise it's not going to happen again. How do I deal with that? I don't know the answer to that question. How can I be responsible and apologize and own it? And I'm working in therapy with a psychiatrist and taking meds and a nutritionist and working on leveling out my body to just its natural, healthy state. Because I have fucked it up by treating this vehicle. I wasn't getting oil changes, you know what I mean? I've been shoving in fucking drugs for 30 goddamn years. So I know what it looks like if I don't change. And I'm changing, and if you think there's some kind of weakness in that, well, enjoy your fucking cheeseburger at McDonald's, you know? I used to think it was humble bragging when I talk about workouts. I'm like, you know what? Why is that humble bragging? Shit, man. My friends want to get healthier, or if it's quitting drinking or quitting drugs, yeah, fucking do that. Let me support you. Not a humble brag when you're doing amazing. When I see Jeff Ray post his days of sobriety, not one iota of me thinks it's a humble brag. It makes me think that is fucking amazing. And I've seen the changes. You know what I mean? That inspires me. Because I'm dealing with shit too, you know? We all are in some way or another. Some of it is just fucked us up physiologically, neurobiologically. Or bioneurological, I don't even know. Hunter probably knows. Because Hunter's another one. Fucking spectrum all day, and he's a goddamn genius. Mystic, I'd say. Crazy as a motherfucker. And I don't think he minds me saying it. Because how could he not be? He doesn't want to be normal, and at the same time, it's isolating as fuck. Nobody understands. I didn't understand it with him. I understood it because I know that the tools I had weren't working, and I had to seek someone that had the expertise. Mental health was in their wheelhouse of expertise because I wasn't getting the results that I needed, that I wanted, that I wanted to live. That was the only result. 2017, the idea that I was finishing a new book, that I would be hosting and creating all this content while finishing another book and have a pit bull rescue. I was like, how do I not die? How do I not murder myself? How do I not kill myself? That's where I was at 4 years ago. That's where I was. So I don't give a fuck if somebody tells me that I haven't created value and been committed to this, because based on results, I'm committed as a motherfucker to being healthy. And I'm still in the process of it. My A to B, my B's keep becoming A's, and I just keep making B's. And amazingly, I just want to understand me. That's it. I just want to understand me. But throughout that process, I get to understand you. Every one of you watching this, everyone that's going to watch it. I see you because I see me. And there's a reflection. And so when I left that facility yesterday and went and had a burrito, and I came home and I felt, this is going to sound crazy. This is why I said, if you don't understand nuances, this is going to break your fucking mind. I had a feeling that I couldn't understand. And it was sadness, not depression, sadness. I felt like I lost something, like I was letting something, like, I have never been in a place that I felt more seen and understood, ever. In 48 years. Goddamn felons, homeless, business owner, I don't give a fuck what, artists, rappers, never says a word, the nurses, the staff, never have I felt more fucking seen and more understood. Never did I feel with violence going on and fights breaking out and just crazy. I watched the Super Bowl, we all watched the Super Bowl. It was the first time any of us were all sitting there laughing, like, We're having a great time. And no, of course, we didn't have any alcohol or weed or anything. We're drinking water. Some people we'd had juice or milk. And it was one of the best Super Bowls I've ever seen. Shit just went down and got crazy during the half hour we were trying to watch The Weeknd perform. And this one bitch was there. I don't want to get into it, but she was definitely a cunt. Um, and she just came in and anyway, she got by Felicia and laughing and like we're all just like, man, it's the best Super Bowl I've ever watched. And I can't remember last time I watched one without drinking. All of us. And having that group before I left, helping and watching all these minds work together. And I'm talking about motherfuckers that pronounces police, from somewhere in Texas that's been in and out of prisons and recovery for 20 something years. Goes to prison for mental health issues. He goes to these guys that were coming out of prison. I've done more shit in a fucking weekend with some of you watching right now than they ever did. And they go to prison because they don't have a support system like I do or you do. Like we do. Like having the Beard Mob or having the Austin Facial Hair Club or having a community. They got nothing. And they go to prison for having the shit that's going on in my head. I couldn't stand 4 days there. They go away for 2 years, 9 months for mental health problem, for having this, not treated. And then they get back out and they go right back to a halfway house where everybody smokes fucking meth. Where how do you get out of that? And I sat there with those people learning from them. We were all the goddamn same there. Didn't matter what we were in life, we were the same. And I never, ever felt that seen by people, just other humans, that if one of them was in a bad spot while we were there, the rest of us were there to fucking hold them because we got it. We know what was going on in their brain. We understood what the fucking noise is. We understand the self-destruction, mutilation. I get it. I fucking get it. And if I'm in that space, they were there. It didn't matter if the motherfucker just got out of the pen and we have two different... If he couldn't read, it didn't matter. We were been there just 3 days getting to know each other. That motherfucker would fight for me because we gets it. We imagine this my whole life. I'm hiding from this and I'm embarrassed by it, ashamed of it. There, I was normal. Fuck. I've never felt like my illness was normal. Shit. And I broke down in tears. I like ugly crying for an hour. Because how could I be so excited to get out of there and so angry that I was kept against my fucking will? And I had a benchmark fucking moment in my life. I will never forget those fucking people. Ever. I hope that we can keep in contact and be there because I have never felt that supported by people that said, I see you, man. I see them. I know who they are. I know what it's like to they all have goals, dreams, what their life wants to be. They have relationships and children and grandchildren and people that they love and care for. And then some don't have anyone. But that moment, my shit was packed and ready to go and I couldn't get up and leave because I didn't want that moment to end for me. That's nuance, motherfuckers that don't get it. That I could hate it and want to leave, and I had a moment that changed my life. It's like the Psi seminar, the basic, when I took it. Everything started after that, and I feel and see things differently, just like I did leaving Life Success course with some of my friends that are on here, where my vibrating and everything looks different. Because I'm not better than any motherfucker out there ever. My circumstances are different. I am privileged as a motherfucker, and I'm lower middle class. And I got a support network. Some of you are watching right now. You love me. I love you. Because we have relationships. I have that. I can do this right now. And part of me is embarrassed. And part of me is ashamed that I fucking destroyed this. And that's just because it's been ingrained into me by society that this is such a taboo, scary subject. Fuck you. I think the world, our country especially, America, needs therapy. Look at it. Fractured. Everybody, I mean, everybody's experienced some kind of traumas. Why would I be embarrassed? The reason most motherfuckers love me, and y'all do, and people love me, is because I'm a lovable motherfucker. I'm cool. I'm funny. I'm quick witted. It's all because I have a mental illness. The reasons you love me are also the worst parts of me sometimes. The destruction, the absolute dickheadedness, assholeness. And some of the reasons you guys like me. And that's one of the reasons I like you. So there's so many gifts that come with it. And I also got to see what it looks like to not be supported. To not have what I have. To not even have a voice. So I want to start doing Mental Health Mondays. I'm being a cannabis advocate and a pit bull advocate, and I just want to have a thing. It doesn't have to be about cannabis. I just want to have something where people feel safe. I can make a group out of it. Just so people can go safe and be honest and have that feeling that I didn't even want to leave. I wanted to leave so bad, but I didn't want to leave that moment. And I don't know if that makes sense. But I had never, I didn't even understand it until last night. And I just erupted in tears and crying. And Diane just held my hand and sat there and she fucked up too. So there's ways that we intertwine, but then she can't fully understand what's going on in my head. How could she? I remember taking the basic. I only remember Cortland Warren saying, nobody wants, stop trying to get in someone's head. Nobody wants you there. And you don't want to be there. He said, you don't want to be in my head. And you're right. You don't want to be in my head. And I don't want to be in yours. How could I possibly comprehend your experience and what life experiences you've had when I'm still 48 years old struggling to understand and be healthy about my own? And yet I do it to you. I judge people all the time. It was a fucking humbling experience to be there with people that don't even have a fingernail the education I have. Or the opportunity to have a voice like and when I say have a voice, to have you to be able to do this, to speak up, heart fucking breaking, and at the same time, I will never forget that moment. I will never. This weekend was a benchmark for me. I don't know what's coming out of it. I just have to keep going. I do this nutrition journal every day online. So obviously I couldn't do it on an app on my phone with my nutritionist, and she checks it. We communicate through the app, and I didn't do it since Friday, obviously. So I had an appointment with her just before this, and the first thing I was like, I know I didn't do the journal, and then I was like, look, and I trust her. And I was in a psychiatric hospital, and I started crying talking to her. I'm trying not to with you guys. And she just held me in a teleconference space. And then another part of it, my goddamn blood sugar was the lowest it's ever been since I've had diabetes. Do you understand what nuances are? That everything is not black and white. It's a spectrum of all the things. I was miserable. I'm going to file a report with the police department. I'm going to try to affect that. And those people that I took it out on that work there, it ain't their fault. They have nothing to do with the laws. They're just nurses. They're not just nurses. They're fucking angels. And the staff there, I have never seen more empathetic, compassionate, the opposite of condescending. Just they're playing basketball with us, hanging, talking, ask me about my books, podcast, sharing. One of the tech's wife is from Warren, where my wife is from, and just being cool, just being nice. Just understanding that these people are are coming out of a mental crisis, that it's going to be hard for them, and how can we serve you? And I swear to God, they were like goddamn bodybuilders, some of the motherfuckers there, and I had never felt such compassion. Never. From people, and then you talk to them and you realize that they've been in the institutions before, that they got into mental health work for to understand their own mental health issues because they have mental illness. The nurse, I'm talking about psychiatric nurse, why do you go into the career? They're going into it because they go down rabbit holes that end up being degrees and end up being fields of study to fix them. And I felt, I couldn't understand it until last night. And I wanted to do this today because I don't want to lose the behind our backs and trying to judge each other and building ourselves up by knocking each other down. And I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to me. I'm talking to me. I apologize. I know I've just said some shitty things to people and been so cavalier, and I don't know what people are going through. How can I dare judge them? When I get to teach classes and I'm pretty knowledgeable about this shit, and I still end up in a fucking psych ward. How dare I judge people? And it's natural for us to do so, and I got to be much more aware about it. And the more I stop doing it to myself, the easier it is to not do it to others. Because to be able to sit here and do this without being filled with shame and guilt proves to me how much growth I'm having through going to see a therapist, through working on myself. And I do these shows for me. And I'm just happy that y'all fucking find some value and maybe it's entertaining. That you guys engage with me. Hey, Steve. What's up, brother? Um, and look, man, I got a lot of people. I coach people, and I don't have all the answers. I'm learning as I go. There's a quote out there. I can't remember who it's from. Maybe y'all do, but wisdom is learning. As I get older, the wiser I become means I learn that I don't know shit about shit. I know so little about such a little amount that the vastness of knowledge in our universe. None of us know shit. I know how to manipulate. We know how to build something man-made like the society that we have and structures and the economic structures and all that and work in this specific set of rules because we're afraid to expand beyond that. We hold on to it so tightly because it's something we think we control, and the shit had with GameStop proved that that's not true. I have a monster that lives inside of me, and I have to be its leader, and sometimes that motherfucker bites the shit out of me, and I still got to be the leader. And that's me being the leader, is standing up and talking to you guys about it without shame, without guilt, and saying that I'm not going to be embarrassed by this anymore, and I am not going to be quiet about it. And if you don't like it, fuck off. Unfollow me, unfriend me, or keep watching and maybe learn something. Maybe find out you need therapy, motherfucker. I don't know. Um, I'll encourage you, man. This ain't some bullshit to hide from. You know how many fucking people out there? I know y'all watching this right now have trauma and have things that we try to make ourselves look, but like we don't want to let that hole in our armor show. And man, that's what makes me love people, is the fact that they're unique and then that they're flawed and that they're admitted to open and to sharing those flaws, because that makes you more real to me. That makes you somebody that I want to know. If you come off and you try to look like you got it all together, maybe I do that. I don't think I do because I'm pretty self-deprecating, but I probably do. I'm arrogant. I know I'm smart, and I also know, as you can tell, I don't know shit about shit. Based on results, I can be on a really, really good streak, and that mother come out like an alligator going after a goddamn whatever fucking alligator going after a duck. You know what I'm saying? And I got to fight for my life. And then this fucking podcast, Strain Out Society, my book, Bully Ranch, don't mean shit. That just means I got to fight. So I need to fight double as hard to get to a space where I can prevent, to not deny or avoid when I feel the trigger, when I feel the tension. It's a lot of work. And God damn it, man, I'm so glad. One of my favorite books is One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest by Ken Kesey. And you guys have probably seen the movie with Jack Nicholson and Danny DeVito. And having my own experience of it, except the staff in this one particular one aren't the enemy. But it's nuanced. I was there against my will. and yet they don't have anything to do with it. So I had my own experience of it, and I hated it. I'm fucking goddamn grateful for it. How you like that? I hated it. I hated it. And I am so fucking thankful that I got to have it. I will never forget that moment. Never forget people like me, or just, I don't know, people like me. It's hard for me to trust because the people I grew up trusting were the ones that abused me. I have to know you, man. I got to share personal shit together for me to even start trusting you. You know what I mean? I mean, these are strangers. And you're taking away my freedom, my number one trigger, because you're taking away my number one value. I had to find freedom in the brain. It was through surrender. I realized they weren't my enemies. And then I had to trust them with my life. I hated every minute of it. God, I would not take it back for anything. So I've shown you, see me. This is this is me. As much as the funny, great, quick-witted, caring person too, man, I'm flawed as everybody else is. I'm more, maybe, I don't fucking know. I can't worry about your flaws. I gotta worry about, I gotta worry about mine. And is it flawed? If we're all flawed, then, and not like there's, everyone there. There's some people whose diagnoses and sicknesses are much like they can't even operate in normal society. At least I feel like I'm blessed that I can. Not in normal society as far as I'm, having a regular doing all that, but I can talk to you. I can talk to people. I can have relationships with people. And this is me, and this is the naked version. I'm not going to take my clothes off because, you get the metaphor, but I appreciate when y'all share with me. Weena, Shannon, Steve, Monty, Deb, Hunter, my man, John, Austin, God, I love you guys. Brandon Waltz, man. I see y'all too. We may not all agree on everything all the time. That ain't gonna happen. How can I agree with anyone else all the time? I don't even agree with me all the time. Shit. But I see you. I appreciate y'all seeing me, and if you judge, you judge. I don't feel judged. I feel like I'm just not going to apologize for it anymore. I'm not going to deny that I have it, and I'm not going to be embarrassed by it, and I'm not going to pretend that I don't. I'm also going to see about where to go to find one of those destruction rooms or whatever, where you pay to go into a room and use a sledgehammer or whatever means, knock down walls and shit. We'll look into that this week because that sounds fun to me. Because I still have that part of that I want to see shit destroyed. I just don't want to do it to my own shit. You know what I mean? It's a lot more expensive than to pay $100 for an hour to go break through walls and shit than to go buy a new TV and fix all the shit. And maybe some of y'all want to go do that too. Or Brandon, next time you're up in Austin, take me to the range. Let's go shooting. That sounds fun too. I gave away my guns because of that. And there's times like this last Thursday where that's why I know I made a good decision, because that's why. So, I see you, Weena. Good. Going to see your therapist. That's awesome. I love therapy. I recommend it to anyone and everyone, whether you've been diagnosed with mental illness or not. It's like having a coach. I mean, honestly, it is, except my insurance pays for this. You want Dak to coach you? It's going to cost you a fucking couple grand a month. He doesn't take your goddamn Blue Cross Blue Shield. I love you guys so much. This is so, I feel so amazing right now. I honestly do. And I'm glad you guys stuck through it with me. I'm glad you listened to me and see me. And from now on, I want to, if we see each other face to face, whenever that time is, see each other. You know what I mean? I love you guys. I love that you love me. Those that you do, because I need it. I need it, and we all do. I'm just blessed and I'm grateful that you guys watched. So thank you. And thanks everybody for not spewing off with advice and shit like I asked at the beginning, because last time I even was open about this. That's what makes me not want to be as open as I am. And I already think I'm pretty open, is when people are like, you should go see DeMartini or you should go see Tony Robbins. Bitch, I'm about to kill myself. You think I should buy a ticket to go see Tony Robbins? No, motherfucker. You break your ankle, you go to the emergency room. So I appreciate that. I work on myself. It's just so people feel so, when somebody else is in the spot like I'm in or was in, they get so uncomfortable they want to fix it. I don't need you to fix me. I can only move on, God damn it. As stubborn as I am, I'm doing it. Bumps along the way, motherfucker, but I'm going to do it. I guess y'all can't get rid of me that easy. And then, well, I guess we all just see what's going to happen. My world wouldn't be the same without y'all in it, though. And I hope yours would be the same without me. I love you guys. I'm going to end this now. Thank you. Thanks for listening. And thanks for your love. Fuck. And I feel you.